Welcome to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Empowering women like you to amplify your voice, your message, your movement. We believe that if 10,000 new women stepped into high-level leadership platforms, we can transform the industries across the planet. 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. And now your host, Narissa Street.
Hi, oh my goodness. You're back with us. You came back. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to see you. Well, I mean, I can't really see you, but I know you're there. And you know that I'm here and I'm Narissa Street. So thank you for tuning in to the podcast once again. I am delighted to have with me the founders of an incredible national, and I don't want to say it's global initiative. So we have with us today Katrina Medoff and Tracy Sayre.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so happy to have you. Hey. Well, thank you for being here because I know you all are busy ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So tell us who you are. Let's start with Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina Medoff. As you mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Women's Weekend Film Challenge. And
I'm Tracy Sayre, and I'm also the co-founder of Women's Weekend Film Challenge, and I'm also a screenwriter and a mommy.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing right now. And so I'll open it up. I'll let you, whoever wants to jump in, that's fine.
Yes, so Women's Weekend Film Challenge places professional filmmakers on teams to write, shoot, and edit a short film in one weekend. And we provide everything that our filmmakers need in order to do so. So that includes production insurance and location permits and top of the line equipment courtesy of our sponsors and a premiere screening that is at a Museum of the Moving Image when we're in New York and at ArcLight Hollywood in LA. And so far we've worked with 700 women to make 30 short films, which have gotten into 80 film festivals and counting. And then I'll let Tracy tell you about what we've been doing since the pandemic started, because it is very different, although with the same mission.
Yeah, we launched our film challenge. We've done 3 in New York, and then we launched our first one in LA at the end of February of this year. We had a screening for 400 people at ArcLight Cinema on, I think it was March 5th or 7th, right as like everything was shutting down. And then we came back to New York, and that was when there was a total shutdown.
Oh, wow.
And we were thinking, what do we do now? Like, our whole model was bringing people together and very close knit, like put them in the trenches. And you can't do that safely now. So we developed a virtual series starting in April, and we have brought together a global community. Like you said, people are coming in from Australia, Malaysia, Brazil, Canada, all over the United States, the UK, everywhere. And they're coming to learn from the leading women in the industry. And it's been so much fun. We have it every Thursday night, and in New York. We're based in New York. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. I mean, first of all, you all are in New York, which was like epicenter number one in the United States. So the fact that you were able to understand what your women, your constituents needed, and then pivot, and then for it to blossom and open up globally, I think is really admirable. And I as someone who has benefited from one of your programs, I really appreciate the fact that you were able to just keep the mission moving. So thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Right away, talking about the pandemic and knowing that COVID has impacted the media, what do you feel is possible now? Like, do you feel that there are some new innovations coming? And what do you think is possible now for those of us who are in the industry?
What we are hoping is that this will sort of be an opportunity for a little bit of a reset. There are so many inequalities in the industry, and a lot of them are disproportionately on women. And I mean, even Tracy mentioned that she's a mom. I mean, a lot of mothers in particular have a lot of difficulty staying in the industry when they become parents, due to the hours and things like that. I mean, there's just so many inequalities across the board in the industry. And I think we do have an opportunity as we start back up to really rethink some of the practices that are keeping the industry in the past.
And I think it's also helping people realize that they don't have to live in an industry hub anymore if they don't want to. A lot of people that are coming to our workshops, they're asking us to continue them even after the pandemic because they're finally getting the resources and the access that they couldn't get because they weren't in New York or LA. And I think as things are going online, people are realizing that they can live where they want to live anywhere in the world and still get that access if they can find it.
Yeah, I think that has been major. I mean, specifically, I'm currently based in Florida, and we have been pushing and with the conversation of the incentives, they're on, they're off. So being able to get access and step out on your, hang your shingle as a professional filmmaker has been a challenge. So to see, I think for some people, despite what COVID has brung, as far as, the changes and the challenges with intimacy and family and friendships and all that other kind of stuff, on the other side of things, as you're saying, with the equities being challenged as well, I'm as hopeful as you are. So how have you noticed, now that you've been able to do these programs online, what are people asking for?
I think one of the biggest things that people have enjoyed from our series, at least, is that it really gives people a glimpse into the industry that they weren't able to have access to before, especially when we have people like showrunners, and we've staff writers in the writer's room and people like that. They know that they want to reach these positions, but they don't really know what it looks like when they get there. And I think that our guests have been able to give them that real glimpse into like, what is the day-to-day life like? Like, what does a script look like when it goes through all the different color coding processes from the writer room and the different drafts, like, what does it actually look like so that they can be prepared once they arrive at that portion, that part of their career?
Yeah. I think they're also looking for a sense of community. So much of the writing process is so lonely, and it's very hard to get feedback. It's very hard to stand out, especially like in once you finish a script, you're like, all right, what do I do with this now? If you don't have the connection. So I think a lot of people are looking for their work to be read and for to meet collaborators as well.
Yeah, well, speaking of collaborators, I think that's the biggest thing, as you're talking about the loneliness of the work, especially if you have been in an isolated place that is not necessarily an industry hub. Mm-hmm. So how did you two find each other?
We met at a networking event through New York Women in Film and Television, another great group that works toward gender equity in film. And we met over the hummus table,
My first love, hummus.
We met there, and we realized that we lived just 15 minutes away from each other, both in Astoria, New York. And so we took the subway back from the event together, and we're chatting the whole way. And then our friendship just blossomed from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like then for those of us who are looking for it, we need to be joining associations and connecting with the organizations that are supportive of the industry that we want to be in.
Yeah. And following up, we have both noticed from networking that people will go to a networking event, they'll just hand out their business card in the pre-COVID days,
Right.
go and hand them out, and then no follow-up. And people are going to just like pick up the business card and remember that person months later. You have to send an email, ask them out for coffee, really build that relationship and emphasize the relationship aspect. Like, people want to hire people that they enjoy being around. And so if you can build that friendship first and then a job can come out of it, that's the best.
Yeah. And what we've tried to do with Women's Weekend Film Challenge is that when people are really working together, it kind of goes beyond that exchanging business cards that Tracy mentioned, because, you know, you can't really hire or refer or collaborate with someone until you kind of know what it is like to actually work with them.
Right.
And so we're providing this opportunity for people to work with women in every role of production. And when they get out of that other side, hopefully they have some people that they've met and worked with that they really like, and that they can feel very confident referring for jobs, for example, because they actually have worked with them already in the past. And then, you know, they also have this awesome work sample, the short film that they made during the film challenge. And they're able to, you know, look at the work of the other women in the other teams to see if there are people that they would like to collaborate with as well. But I think the strongest connections really come from the people that you're working with, and work begets work. So.
Hey, this is a great episode, right? Want to carry the insight from our show wherever you go? Visit myjoyisvaluable.com for the best resources that we've gathered that are inspired by expert guests. Find support for your business, tools to organize your life, and more. That's myjoyisvaluable.com.
Ooh, I like that. Work begets work. Yeah, so thinking about those kinds of things, allowing yourself to work with other people who it sounds like you may not know before they connect with you. How do you all handle that? How do you handle got a group of women who are like, yes, I want to do the weekend film challenge. So how do you organize that so that, you know, differing experience levels, maybe differing, you know, ideas as to what a story looks like? How do you all organize that so that it is an experience that people can learn from?
Yeah, we get hundreds and hundreds of people applying for each film challenge. We review all those applications and we ask why people want to do the film challenge. So first, we're looking for people that are team players, people that want to hear women's voices and tell women's stories. We're looking for people that have positive attitudes and want to change the industry. We are looking for experience level, especially for a lot of the key roles. It's such a challenging weekend. So for example, the director position, we're looking for someone that has a lot of experience as a director to put them in that role. Then we're also looking for people that have similar work style. We look at their portfolios and we say, oh, this cinematographer would work really well with this director. So we start building the crews that way. And then we have, and after we create the crew, if they're all strangers, our mission is always to put strangers together on a crew so that when you join our program, you're going to instantly build your network by 30 women. Then after we build the crew, we have a orientation session. Katrina, do you want to talk about the orientation?
Yeah, we have an orientation session where we have the directors, writers, and producers together, because it is very, very challenging to write a whole short screenplay basically in one evening, one night before it gets filmed. So I guess I'll tell you what the weekend schedule is before I tell you what the orientation is, because it will make a little more sense that way. But we pull a different genre from the hat for each team at 6 p.m. on the Thursday that the weekend starts, and we assign them all a prop that they have to incorporate. So no one has written anything before this. No one has submitted a screenplay before. It's all totally original for the film challenge. And then they write it. They are filming it on Saturday and Sunday, or filming it Friday, Saturday, editing it on Sunday, and it is complete by midnight on Sunday. And so we are doing an orientation beforehand so that we we get these writers and directors used to generating ideas together and coming to consensus about what it will look like. And we follow that up with a pre-production meeting that we schedule for all of the teams at once. So we get to meet everybody. They get to meet all of their crewmates and come up with as much of a plan as they can without actually knowing what it is they are filming before the weekend starts. And one thing I should also mention is when we are looking through the applications, it's not just us. We have some amazing panelists of really talented and accomplished writers, directors, cinematographers, and we have a casting director who looks over the actor submissions. So we're getting feedback from all of these people to really narrow down to just some amazing, amazing people, because we have, I don't even know how many director submissions, for example. We had at least over 150 or something, and we had 6 slots for directors. Wow. So there's so many talented people, and it's really hard to narrow down. It's really hard. Yeah. So a couple of things that strike me on that. So again, going back to who you both are, the care that you're taking in putting women together, I think is different than, because I've heard other types of, film challenges, but the care that you're putting together is, energetically, I would say, feminine, right? So the fact that you are very clear that it's not just, okay, let's throw something together and, throw it on the wall and see if it sticks. The fact that you are clearly looking at who is submitting, curating who's submitting, putting a cohort of people together specific to, I can't even imagine how long that takes. Like, it has to take weeks just going through all of the applications. And so I think what I'm hearing from you is your care, not just for the product, but for the process and for the people.
It means a lot that you've noticed that. That really does mean a lot. Thank you for saying that. Like we always say, the film challenge is a challenge. It's not a competition. And we just want to set our participants up for success throughout the entire experience. We are bringing people together. We want to show the talent that women have and what they're capable of when they're given the opportunity and resources that they so often are denied. And so we are both independent filmmakers even before we started the film challenge. And so we knew exactly what we needed in order to succeed. And so we always put ourselves in the place of our participants and saying, like, you know what, like, I think it would really help if we had a budget for submitting films to film festivals. And then that helps us in our planning to get submission fees to cover that, the money to cover the fees. We're always thinking what our filmmakers would want the most and getting that for them.
That's fantastic. Because when I talk to other filmmakers, they're like, we're going to make our film. And I'm like, and then what? And then what happens to the film? Where does it live? Who sees it? Mm-hmm. So again, the care that you're taking, I think more and more speaks to why women do need to have a space, a seat at the table, some leadership, because just kind of you're very clear of the full life cycle of a film. So I'm really, really appreciative of that. As somebody who, at some point, I'm probably going to apply at some point because this all sounds delightful. So a couple of questions, thinking about women and the stories that women tell, right? I feel, because I'm an educator, right? And so I teach media studies classes, I teach public speaking. And one of the things that I have a particular love for teaching teenage girls, right? One of the things that I notice is my having to give them a counter narrative, meaning they're still in some ways defining themselves relative to other people, and a lot of times relative to men, right? And, does this boy like me? Does he like me? Whatever, or how do I look? Or, I don't like how I look because this is not what I see someplace else. They're comparing themselves. And I wonder if, when you all are hearing these stories told by women, I'm wondering if they pass the Bechdel-Wallace test.
Absolutely. Because we're placing the actors on the teams as well. So just having women in these roles when they're writing roles for women that people might just automatically have as a man if it weren't part of this film challenge. For example, a police officer knocks at the door, right? It's a woman in the film challenge, or there's a couple. Beautiful. And they're both women, and it's not even really part of the story. It's just, this is a couple and this is what they're going through. And it's, I think it's really important because you see so many times where it would have been just cast as a man, a certain character, just because of people's preconceptions. And as you mentioned, it's so important to girls and teenage girls when they look at the screen to see themselves represented. We just had the presidential election, and I always sort of am of the opinion that one of the reasons that back in the Democratic primary, people are like, but is Kamala Harris presidential, or is Elizabeth Warren presidential, or whatever, is because not only we haven't seen, a woman as president before, but we don't see women depicted as presidents on screen either. And luckily now going into the future, Kamala Harris will be a role model for women in real life. But I think we also in the media have a real responsibility to cast all types of women in so many leadership roles across the board so that people can just picture themselves there.
Yeah. I think that's something that is exciting about what it is that you're doing. And I think also there is the tendency for people to want to fit in to what is already status quo because they feel like, well, that's where the money is. So if this is what, when I go up for a role, if they want me to be, the funny black girl, then, well, those are the roles. So how do you all balance the need for the steady income with the need for the joyful income, the one that really serves you, the one that really feeds your heart? How are you all doing that?
I'm not sure if this answers your question, but I do know that a lot of our actors, they'll tell the writers before they write the script, they'll say, I get typecast as this kind of person, and I really want to push myself. If you see this in me, can you write a character that is like this? And so they finally have a well-produced film that they can put on their reel that shows them in a different light and helps them get that job. Because before that, they were only given the opportunity to show like a tiny part of themselves, or not even themselves, just like who the media thinks that they can be. And so it is helping women branch out and get the jobs that they want to get.
So I'm hearing create your own work.
I think don't wait for permission, always be creating your own work. No one is going to ask you to write your screenplay or direct your film or start your business or whatever. Like, you need to take the initiative and just do those things yourself because, that's the only way it's going to happen.
So how are you all being supported in this work? So the work that you're doing right now, amazing that you're able to have the time and have the space to curate the people together. But is this the only work that you're doing, or are you also balancing this amazing initiative with other things as well? Because I heard mom, so I'm imagining some other things as well.
Yeah, there's always a hustle. We get grants. We have amazing sponsors for our film challenge. The virtual series that we do, it's donation based. That has helped us the most by far. That's helped us to pay ourselves a living wage, which every artist needs. But yeah, it comes from all over, the funding.
Okay. So for you, what does success in film and media look like?
That's a really good question. I mean, part of that is what Tracy just said, like being able to make a living wage from it. I know so many actors, for example, like they really find success when they can call themselves a working actor, when they can, that's their job and that's how they can, pay their rent and everything. But I think it goes more than just that. I think it's the creative fulfillment. Are you making the work that you want to make, and that is the work that only you can make?
I think for me, success looks like when crews are just naturally 50-50, men and women, when they're diverse, when there's a panel of filmmakers that happens to be all women, and it's not called a women in media women in film panel. It's just they're directors that are women. Because I've never seen ever men in film panel. Ever. They all seem to be that. Yeah, with women taking 50%, having 50% of the leadership roles out there, that would look like success to me.
Yeah. And I've never seen a men in film ever. And it's really interesting that you say that, because I have so many film events that I've gone to where I peek in the room and I see 3 women sitting on the dais, and I'm like, women in, and it's always women in, and then whatever it is, cinematography, acting, casting, whatever. And it's just interesting. So part of the mission of this podcast is to help that.
And that's what you're doing, right? Like that's what we're doing too in your podcast. Yes. In our virtual series, we're highlighting these women who really deserve to be applauded for their work in the film industry. And I think until we are at 50-50, that needs to continue to happen.
Right. And again, it shouldn't just be oh, wow, look, women. It's just, and that's the other thing as well, the conversation that's had all the time about diversity and inclusion. It's like, well, where's there a woman? And it's not, well, they're everywhere. and also not just where's a woman, but there are qualified women who are matching your talent, who are matching your experience. And so it's not like a handout or, well, we hired a woman. But it's come on board. You already have everything that we need. And I'm excited that you're doing more amplifying. I was going to say amplification. That's like a long word. I don't think that word.
Just to go off of what you're saying, it really is crazy to us when we hear of places that are like, oh, well, we wanted to hire, a woman screenwriter, but we couldn't find any or something like that, because it's like, you have to try hard not to look for that. It's, we have so many people who are so talented applying to our program. And then, when people can't find women in sound or women in G&E, yes, those are very male dominated fields, but it just takes a teeny bit of legwork. You can always, if you are really looking, you can find a ton of qualified women in every area. There are women who are, are working and want to work more. And I think you just have to really make an effort to make sure that at least the people who you're interviewing for jobs are half women. Yeah.
And I think that it's also, up to us as well to not wait, as you're saying in the beginning, create your own work, and put it out there. Because I think that's another thing as well. What I'm finding in my work is I'm encouraging women to speak publicly, and the thought in their mind is, I still have a little bit more work to do, or I still need to do a few more things before I want to share my wisdom. And I'm like, you are the wisest person I know. So, I think also we just need to do more in encouraging each other to just put it out there publicly, like you all are doing. So this has been a delightful conversation. You all are very generous to do the work that you're doing. I hope it continues. I hope it continues for a long time. So tell us where we can find you.
Our website is womensweekendfilmchallenge.com. You can find us on Instagram at Women's Weekend Film Challenge and on Twitter at WW Film Challenge. You can also find us on YouTube and Patreon. And we hope to see you at one of our upcoming workshops.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. Any parting words that you have for our audience?
Well, what you were saying about fear of getting started and waiting to be perfect, this film challenge never would have started if we had waited till it was perfect. We had to just put it out there, and with each iteration, it got better and better. And if we had tried to make it what it is today, like I said, it would never gotten started. So to all the women that are listening who are afraid to get started, you have to just put it out there and learn from the experience of doing.
Wonderful.
That's a great way to end.
It is. It's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Narissa. This was a pleasure. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Find us at 10,000women10,000stages.com.